how Robin Hood came to be an outlaw. In merry England, in the time of old, when good King Henry II ruled the land, there lived within the green glens of Sherwood Forest near Nottingham town a famous outlaw whose name was Robin Hood. No archer ever lived that could speed a grey goose shaft with such skill and clenching as his, nor were there ever such yeomen as the 70 merry men that roamed with him through the green wood shades. Right merrily they dwelled within the depths of Sherwood Forest, suffering neither care nor want, but passing the time in merry games of archery or bounds of cudgel play, living upon the king's vengeance, washed down with draughts of ale of October brewing. Not only Robin himself, but all the band were outlaws and dwelt apart from other men, yet they were beloved by the country people round about, for no one ever came to jolly Robin for help in time of need, and one went away again with an empty fist. And now I will tell how it came about that Robin Hood fell a fool of the law. When Robin was a youth of 18, stout of seneth and bold in heart, the Sheriff of Nottingham proclaimed a shooting match and offered a prize of a butt of ale to whomsoever should shoot the best shaft in Nottinghamshire. Now, quoth Robin, will I go too, for fain would I draw a string for the bright eyes of my lass, and a butt of good October brewing. So up he got, and took his good stout bow and a score or more of bowed cloth-yard arrows, and started off from Lochesley town through Sherwood Forest to Nottingham. It was at the dawn of the day in the merry May time, when hedge-groves are green and flowers bedecked the meadows, daisies, pine and yellow cuckoos, buds and fair promises all along the briefly hedges, when apple buds blossoms and sweet birds sing, the lark at dawn of the day, the throstle cook and cuckoo, when lads and lasses took upon each other with sweet thoughts, when busy housewives spread their line to bleach upon the bright green grass. Sweet was the greenwood as he walked along its paths, and bright the green and rustling leaves. Amid the little birds sang with might and main, and littlely Robin whistled as he tugged along, thinking of Maid Marian and her bright eyes, for at such times a youth's thoughts are wont to turn pleasantly upon the lass that he loves the best. As thus he walked along with a brisk step and a merry whistle, he came suddenly up on some foresters seated beneath a great oak tree. 15 there were in all, making themselves merry with feasting and drinking, and they sat around a huge pasty, to which each man helped himself, thrusting his hand into the pie and washing down that which they ate with great horns of ale, which they drew all foaming from a barrel that stood nigh. Each man was clad in Lincoln green, and a fine show they made, seated upon the sward beneath that fair spreading tree. Then one of them, with a mouth full, called out to Robin, "Holla! Where goest thou, little lad, with thy 1-penny bow and thy shafting shafts?" Then Robin grew angry, for no stripling goes to be touted with his green years. Now, quoth he, my bow and Ike, my arrows are as good as shine, and moreover I go to the shooting match at Nottingham town, which same has been proclaimed by our good Sheriff of Nottinghamshire. There I will shoot with other shoot yeomen, for a prize has been offered of a fine butt of ale. Then one who held a horn of ale in his hand said, Ho! Listen to that lad! Why, boy, thy mother milk is yet scarce dry up thy lips, and yet thou prastest of standing up with good shout men at Nottinghamshire, but thou who art scarce able to draw one string of a 2-stone bow. I hold the best of you 20 marks, quoth bold Robin, that I hit the crowd at 60 roads, by the good help of Our Lady fair. At this all laughed aloud, and one said, Well blasted thou fair infant, well boasted, and well thou knowest that now target is night to make good thy bugger. And another cried, He will be taking ale with its milk next. At this Robin grew right mad. Heck ye, said he, yonder at the glad's end I see a herd of deer, even more than 60 roads distant. I'll hold you 20 marks that, by leave of Our Lady, I cause the best heart among them to die. Now done, cried he who had spoken first, and here are 20 marks. I wager that thou causest no priest to die, with or without the aid of Our Lady. Then Robin took his good bow in his hand, and placed the tip at its instep. He strung it right deftly, then he knocked a broad cloth-yard around arrow, and, raising the bow, drew the grey goose feather to his ear. The next moment the brushing rang, and the arrow steed down the glade as a sparrow hawk skimmies in the northern wind. High leaped the noblest heart of all the herd, only to fall dead, redding the green path with its heart's blood. Ha! cried Robin. How likest thou that shot, good fellow? I wore the wager were mine, and it were 300 pounds. Then all the foresters were filled with rage, and he who had spoken the first had lost the wager was more angrily them all. Nay, cried he, the wager is not of thine, and get thee gone straight away, or by all the saints of heaven, I'll blast these shines until thou wilt ne'er be able to walk again. Knowest thou not, said another, that thou hast killed the king's deer, and by the Lord of our gracious Lord and sovereign King Henry, thine ears should be chafed close to thine head. Catch him, cried the third. Nay, said the fourth, let him in go because of his tender years. Never a word, said Robin, but he looked at the foresters with a grim face, then turned on his heel, strode away from them down the forest glade. But his heart was bitter angry, for his blood was hot and youthful and prone to boil. Now, well would it have been for him who had first spoken, he had left Robin Hood alone. But his anger was hot, because both the youth had gotten the better of him, and because of the deep draughts of the ale that he had been quaffing. So, of a sudden, without any warning, he sprang to his feet and seized upon his bow and fitted it into the shaft. "Ay," cried he, "and I'll hurry the errand," and he sent the arrow whistling after Robin. It was well for Robin that same forester's head was spinning with ale, or else he would have never taken another step. And it was the arrow which whistled within the inches of his head. Then he turned around and quickly drew his own bow, and sent an arrow back in return. "Ye said I was no archer," cried he aloud, "but say so now again." The shaft flew straight. The archer fell forward with a cry, and lay on his face upon the ground, his arrow rattling round him from out of the quiver, the grey goose shaft wet with his heart's blood. Then, before the others could gather their wits about them, Robin was gone into the depths of the greenwood. Some started after him, but not with much heart, for each of them feared to suffer the death of his fellow. So presently they all came and lifted the dead man up, and bore him away to Nottingham town.